And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here to break down and talk some soccer. John, how you doing, my friend? It's
I'm
been
great.
forever since I've seen you.
I know we don't see each other at all these days with all of our pregame, postgame, regular podcasts. It's great. It's good
Yeah,
to we actually have real soccer to talk about. It's a very exciting proposition.
we do have real soccer to talk about. Sorry about the late start, everybody. We're trying something new, and as always, we do not plan ahead, because that's not the RFK Refugees way to plan ahead.
No, that's podcasts that like do a lot of they have like outlines and stuff. That's not the way we roll. We shoot from the cuff.
Yeah, we shoot from the hip, as they say. We definitely are. But yeah, let's talk some soccer. Weird game. Almost fitting, I think, the situation that this game delayed now twice. Third time was the charm. The ball actually did kick off. There was soccer played. We can confirm it. I now have a recording of Garlic and Wingo because even the Verizon DVR thing couldn't keep up with like where the game was. But I did have a recording of the game. Weird game. I think is the way to describe that. That game was drunk. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It was a drunk game, courtesy of typical of Major League Soccer, I guess. The first part did not start well, did it, John? In fact, it was looking like it was going to be disastrous.
No, and you can see it as we're talking over my shoulder. The experience watching this game was rough. I think that there were some moments where we thought maybe this is just rust, and then it was hot, and then maybe it's a style of play thing. But it was then a red card happened, and then they went 2 goals down at halftime. So it was a real mess of a game, and to the fact that I think that a lot of people, some podcast hosts included, thought at the end of halftime that, well, that was it. Maybe they should bring in all the kids and give everyone else a break because this is going to be a loss, and it's just a matter of by how much. And how we made our first mistake. We underestimated DC United in a gritty, backs against the wall environment. You'll hear in a little bit on one of our interviews about going down to 10 men and then somehow having actually a better shape. DC United has had a lot of experience with that in the last couple of years. So I think that that's probably something that they practice with, and it's also something that they've gotten a lot of game time, particularly in 2019, with. So you saw the fruits of that.
Well, I mean, I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk about that first half, and I want to talk about what Ben Olsen is trying to do. You'll hear our interview with Bill Hamid and Felipe. I think we talked a little bit more about this with Felipe than we did Bill Hamid. I am completely 100% against what Ben Olsen is trying to do here. I I think Pep Guardiola is the worst thing to happen to soccer because I think for some reason he has made coaches believe that they can achieve this ticky tacky passing style of soccer. And I'm sorry, you need very, very particular players to do that. You need a grand understanding of how each of them, how each other works. And there's a lot that goes into building something like that. And I'm not 100% convinced it hasn't been sort of figured out and found out. And there's ways to sort of defeat against it. And DC looked slow. They looked like they were predictable because that's the type of style that they have been coached to do. And I think this team has a lot of quick players, a lot of fast players. You look at Emil Assad, you look at Julian Gressel, you look at Flores. They have a lot of quick players. I think they should be. And the second goal, the first goal from Pipe came from old style 2018, late season 2018 DC, where they were just dominating teams, where it was win the ball in the center field, go quickly. And I just think that is a style that sort of fits the players that exist right now, not this methodical, slow build up type of play. I'm not convinced by what Ben Olsen is doing. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll change my mind. But we just looked slow. We looked predictable. We were pressing. We were doing a little bit of a press, I would say, but it just didn't seem to click right. So I don't get it. I don't get what Ben's trying to do. I'll be honest. I don't.
Yeah, I don't attribute much of today's play uh, to tactics as much as I attribute it to really bad individual play, and I think lethargic pressing. I think particularly in the first half, they were not closing down at all in the midfield. They couldn't keep the ball to save their lives. They weren't putting they when they did have the ball, they were I think this came up in Ben's post game interview. They were trying for the killer pass, and they weren't keeping the ball at all. They were not drawing Toronto's players out of their shape in order to create space for opportunities. They were not doing that. That is, I think a lot of that is down to, all of the factors that we've talked about over and over again. They're not excuses per se, but like for real, I think that Toronto's at least in the first half, they showed that they're a pretty good team. And then secondly, they were all of the players were melting. Granted, both sides of both teams were melting. But I got to say, when you look at the body language of the players on one of the teams, DC United in particular, those guys looked dead. Ola Kamara looked like he wanted to faint in the 30th minute. He made 2 runs. He missed an opportunity on one good ball, and then there was a cross from Joseph Moore that was behind him that he couldn't finish. That I hold less of a grudge over. But he looked super tired, and he was, I think, the first sub off, I think, at halftime. So I'm hoping, that the next game, which I believe is now Friday against New England, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm hoping that what we see now is players who know this heat is coming. It's not another 9 a.m. game, though. I think it's the 8 p.m. start, correct? Yes. So they will not be as on fire. It will still be humid, but the sun will not be blazing in their face. So I'm hoping that we see a little bit more a sharper team and a more defensively aggressive team.
And I am being hard. On Ben. I'm being hard on the team. This team did not have a lot of time to prepare. Or they had, I guess, a lot of time to prepare. I would say almost too much time, if that makes sense. I mean, when you have this, you have in your head when you're playing, and then that gets delayed, and then it gets delayed again. There was the drama at the end of the game, which seemed to be attributed to Toronto sort of arriving late, and DC maybe not being too happy about that. There was, I think it was almost like are we actually going to play this game of soccer? I was expecting something else to happen, to be honest, like coming out of that. But with everything that's sort of happened with the positive test that's now a negative, everything I expected to be kind of a crazy, a just weird game that maybe one team was definitely ready to go out there, and maybe DC was a little lethargic and maybe not quite ready to go a full 90. Ola Kamara did have one really nice chance. That was a really nice save. Kevin Pardis got out there on the field. That's really good to see. It seemed like he kind of brought some energy and kind of sort of turned the game. And then there's the Felipe sort of, 83rd minute. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to lose 2-0. I'm already thinking about the next game. And then suddenly I was in my, looking down at my computer. I look up and suddenly I see, Pipe Higuain at the ripe old age of 35 somehow streaking down the field. I think he's 35. He's somewhere in that range.
Please be older than 35. I hope that's.
I'll have to look it up.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right. Let's see. 35. Boom! Right on the money. I'm magical. Streaking down the field, plays a really, really nice chip over the keeper into the goal, and suddenly you're thinking, no, they can't do this. They can't. And then suddenly it's Brilliant, who really had kind of a poor first half, lost his mark, almost tackles the Toronto FC goal scorer, leading to the first goal. And if he tackles him, maybe he gets sent off, and then maybe Moreno happens, and then we're 9 men down, and then who knows what happens. And then I think it was a ball played in. It was a header from Birnbaum right to Brilliant, who is now the team's leading scorer. Who would have called that in the beginning of the season, into the back of net for 2-2. So very, very fortunate that this team escaped with a point and keeps themselves alive, because losing kind of opening games in sort of group stage tournaments can be really, really hard to sort of come back if we're talking about this team advancing to the next round.
Yeah. I mean, this was a game, I believe. I was talking to Charlie Boehm, friend of the show, about after the first New England game, saying that DC United absolutely has to get points out of this game, because New England looks like a real threat. Montreal looks like a team that you can play against, at least based on that first game. I'm sure Henry will have his boys a little bit more tuned up for the second match, but this was a game they had to get points out of. And after that first half, it was not looking promising. I was already thinking, like, well, they're going to get home sooner and they'll get a chance to rest. they'll have more of an opportunity to sort of find opportunities to sort of plug roster holes, but it seems like there are some. But I am glad that Eric Sorga now is cleared to return. He will be playing. He will be on the roster for the next game. The fact that Ulysses Segura was the false nine after Ola Kamara subbed out, which is not something we'd like to see. And there was lots of conversation going on. I think it was last preseason. I don't know if it was this preseason. It seems like that was so long ago. It might as well have been last one. But that was the conversation. Like, well, he will be the backup forward, and that's not where anybody wants him, except for maybe Ben Olsen. Nobody else wants him there. So the fact that that we were able to create opportunities and score after that is really great. And now I think we've got a really great little surprise for everybody. If you hadn't followed us on Twitter, we've got a little interview to show you.
Yep, we'll talk to Bill Hamid. So definitely we will cut to that, I think, right now.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. How are you? Have you recovered from melting after what I have to assume was insane humidity and heat?
I'm still drained, so I will be until I get a good night's sleep until tomorrow.
I bet.
So.
All right, Ted's gonna sort of walk us in, and then we'll get started. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFU Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. We are joined by a very, very special guest, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Bill Hamid. Bill, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Let's just start. Let's jump into it. That was probably one of the more nuts DC United games I've seen in. Well, I haven't seen many DC United games in a while, so I guess it was pretty crazy. What was it like, sort of experiencing that out there?
I thought it was fun. I thought it had a little bit of everything, a little bit of disappointment, a little bit of happiness, a little fire, and I thought it was just good to honestly get a competitive match under our belt, because you could see from the start of MLS's back tournament that, a few teams are rusty, a few players are rusty. That's just going to come with the territory. The fan bases around the league need to understand that. We're coming off of a long hiatus where we weren't even able to see our teammates. We weren't able to play with our groups, and I think it was a good thing for us to get our first game under our belt, kind of just feel how it is in a match situation, measure out the field, get the kind of the gist of working in a unit again, and it was good.
Yeah, so one of the peculiarities of this tournament, and sort of the way that the fact that these games are being played in front of no fans, is that you can hear everyone really, really clear. And the amount of time they had to dump the audio after a challenge was a lot. But anyway, you came in pretty loud and clear the whole time. You were, and it was interesting because you were staying upbeat and positive and encouraging. You were sort of telling everybody, particularly once the game started to drag on, telling people, encouraging them to keep closing down, keep running, keep filling space, which is, the hardest thing to do is run off the ball when you're tired and it's hot.
Yeah.
What do you, has communication always been your strong suit, or is that a skill that you've had to work on? And now, because I can't imagine it being better than it was. Now that we actually got to all hear it crystal clear the whole time, I can't imagine it being any better than
that. Communication is something I've had to work on, but it's always been a part of my game. I think the right communication is what I've had to work on throughout my career, in terms of giving the right tidbits of information at the right times. And I think a saying that most goalkeeper coaches kind of tell young goalkeepers is to put out the fire before it starts. So, if you can encourage a teammate, even though it's really, really hot outside, and you can tell that they are gassed and they're walking in, and you see a gap start to open in their area, if you can kind of wake them up and let them know, okay, move a little bit left, or maybe one of the things I was saying a lot was take a look, while the ball was moving side to side, the opposing team was moving the ball side to side. If you can encourage your players to take a look and see what's around them, I think that kind of helps close off the passing lanes where other teams can advance the ball. And you find that more often than not, if you get your guys in the right position before the fire starts, then we recover the ball in a good position to be able to counterattack.
Right.
And I think that the pressure that we kind of put on, for instance, the first goal, the pressure that we kind of put on, if you watch it over, on the center back to then Nick De Leon, that pass had to be perfect from Simon to Nick De Leon. The pass was a little bit off. We took advantage. We played a lateral pass to Felipe. I think it was Kevin to Felipe, and Felipe first time into Higuain.
Placed it.
While Simon was still wide, a little bit too wide from that missed pass. So it's all about the communication and the right communication to move guys left and right, up and back, to close off the passing lanes, make it more difficult, have good shape, and make it more difficult for the other team to advance the ball, win the ball up as high as possible, and then punish them because they're going to be spread out.
Yeah, that first goal was absolutely class from Higuain and such a great ball from Felipe Martins. And
Yeah,
I thought you said it really well. Wanted to talk a little bit. I mean, this is obviously an odd situation. I would argue for DC and TFC, this was an even weirder situation with having first the game on it was on Wednesday. I can't even remember what it's
Friday.
changed so many times. Yeah, and then it changed. Or sorry, Friday. You're right. And then it changed to Sunday and morning, and then it changed again. How do you, as a player, sort of keep yourself focused and it can't be easy to be like, okay, we're playing this day, and then nope, now we're playing this day, and just trying to keep it's got to be antsy to be like, when are we actually going to get to actually kick a soccer ball?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we were antsy to get in a real game, because you can train all you want day in, day out. You can have 2 training sessions a day. It just doesn't replicate a full 90-minute game. It just doesn't translate, because once you get in the game, it's high energy. It's one mistake can get you punished, but one mistake can be the reason as to why your team is successful. In training, that one mistake, you maybe have an earful, or your teammates maybe encourage you, and you move on to the next drill. You do better in the next drill, and then it's all forgotten about. So it's just different. It's a different feel. It's a different atmosphere playing in a match. And I think that we were antsy to get that first game under our belt. And you could see that, first half, we were still trying to find our groove here and there. But honestly, it's crazy. The shape actually got better. The defensive shape got better with a man down, ironically, because I think we just realized, okay, now we're a man down. We're 2 goals down. We got to prevent this thing from getting to 3, split the differences between their players, have a good shape, be difficult to break down, and make the most of it. And their chances were limited. I mean, they had a chance of free kick. They had another chance. Endo came in, tried to curl the ball far post, which was pretty routine. But other than that, we were able to kind of frustrate them and stop them from getting the 3rd goal. And I think that's a benefit to us, and kind of just pushing through what was essentially our training camp and just getting into this first game.
One more question, and speaking of making them frustrated, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about sort of the bad blood after the whistle. We'll keep this high level, not get anybody in trouble. But it sounded like there was a little bit of disrespect perceived by DC from Toronto, and that disrespect for me, I thought it kind of continued. Michael Bradley said when he was talking about the game today that for a team that has the standards we do, that there's no way that we should let a team like that back into the game. So after all that build up, whatever happened or didn't happen, the comeback.
We got championships. I don't understand what in the world that means. We got more championships than them. So I don't know, but
not a student of history.
He's going to have his own opinion. That's fine.
That had to feel pretty good, though. I think. I mean, it was obvious, by the way, sort of everyone's response after that second goal and after you closed it out and the save and stoppage time. That had to feel real good against this team.
Yeah, I felt great, and unfortunately, maybe it makes for good TV. I
It
don't know.
did. It did.
I guess the fans enjoy that. I can see how much the fans are talking on social media and the engagement. Maybe MLS enjoys that, And but I tell you what, I think we enjoy that. Don't want it to get violent. You don't want there to be bad blood, but I think the elements kind of created that. Two postponements might have actually worked in our favor. Gave us a little bit more time to get fit, a little bit more time to figure out the weather in Florida, which is god awful hot, and from there, I guess the heat and pushing through 90 minutes. I'm sure it was their first time being able to play against real opposition because of these COVID times. I think the heat and obviously they conceded 2 in the second half. It kind of led to a little bit of animosity, and we were tough. We were tough. Let's be honest. Like, I'm so proud of Junior. He battled. And unfortunately, as a center midfielder, as for instance, like a Gattuso from AC Milan, you got to be tough in the midfield. You gotta break up play, and it happens. I told the referee I thought maybe you could have gave him another warning, but it is what it is. I'm proud of him for battling, and we kept battling. Felipe battled, our center midfield, our wingers battled, ran up and down. The players who came off the bench battled. It was tough for us, but I think that these things are going to happen in this sort of environment. There are no fans in the crowd. We kind of forget about that and just start focusing on we're in the middle of a match, and I'm sure. Hopefully it doesn't get violent, but I'm sure you'll see other dust-ups in other teams' matches. So it's just competition. It's just competing. I hope the fans understand that, and I hope they actually enjoy that good TV.
Yeah, speaking of the fans, I want to make sure that we shared a message we received from a whole bunch of people and saying that they wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we appreciated that you're all sort of taking a risk being down there and you're away from your families and you're in sort of a weird environment.
Yeah.
And that it's really appreciated and known and valued by all the fans. So we really want to thank you and all the players for doing that. And also want to thank you for taking time after what a physically and emotionally draining morning. Hopefully you get a good 8 to 10 hours tonight. And I want to make sure that you can go to you get running to your next thing. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to let you know that I broke the signing, the story of your signing. I beat Steve Goff to like 5 minutes back when I had it. So that's my journalistic claim to fame that will never be topped.
Which one? The first one or back from Denmark?
The first one, the signing from the academy.
You're an original. You're really an RFK refugee.
OG. Yep, that's the story. But Bill, thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and all the fans out there, thank you guys for the kind messages and support. We see the messages in our hallways. They've been consistent in posting all these new messages and postcards that you guys are sending. We wish we were in front of you guys. That would be so amazing to be able to walk out on Audi Field and represent the city. But hey, we got to do it from afar. Our next game is either Thursday or Friday against New England. Enjoy the watch party at Union Market, and please root for us, pray for us, and we're gonna do it for you guys and do it for ourselves and our families. So, Vamos United. Always.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. That was Bill Hamid. Thanks so much for him to joining us. I think we're going to go ahead because we do have a guest coming up. We're going to jump right into Felipe. So take it away, Felipe.
2 interviews in one podcast,
yes.
Folks. This is serious.
Serious business. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. We have another special guest for you guys. Joining on the call is Felipe Martins. Felipe, how you doing?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit.
Absolutely. It's certainly a pleasure to have you. I guess let's talk, man. That was a crazy game. I don't think I've seen a weirder game in DC. So I mean, how did first of all, I want to talk about the assist. You had an absolutely unbelievable pass to Federico Higuain.
50th assist too. So big milestone assist too.
Yeah.
Yes.
50th assist. How did that play come about? And like, did you just see him and you kind of your eyes just like light up and just nail that pass, or like
Yeah,
walk us through that play?
there's a couple points to point there. I think, first of all, Russell recovered a very nice ball. He left the ball perfectly for me in order to play a first pass forward. And me and Higuain, we've been very close. We've been talking a lot, and he knows that I always try to, if I can, play forward for the first pass. And I saw him before I got the ball from Russell, and I was able to play him forward. And I think the goal was much better than the pass. So let's leave at that.
They're both good. They're both good. You've been so we asked for some questions ahead of time, and I had a feeling I knew what we were going to get. And the general consensus is that you have turned a lot of people's heads around in not a lot amount of time. You've been a maximum effort, maximum heart player for this team since you've gotten here, winning over most all of everybody. That I remember when you signed, it was a noisy day on Twitter, and it was a noisy day in the supporters groups, who may have remembered you from other places you played. How is it that you're able to connect so quickly and so deeply with supporters' mentality? Like, I think you get it. Like, I think you can tell by the way that you play and the way that you interact with fans during the game and on social media that you get it. And how important is that connection between the players and the supporters to how the relationship goes and how the players play?
Yeah. So first day in my first interview, I said, like, I know that I'm not lost right now. I know there's a lot of going on in your minds, for everything in the past, and and the only thing I can promise you guys that I'm gonna give everything every single day, and in game by game, time by time, you guys gonna recognize that when I am playing for a team, I give my everything, and this has been special for me, because I really relate the way I play, the way I am, the way I feel, and the story behind this United, I think relate to me, the way I am, the way I live, and I truly embrace the culture of this club, everything from the fans, how passionate everyone is, and I promise myself, that that's not what I wanted from the fans. I love to the fans that love the way I play, but they need to recognize I need to gain their trust, and that's what I'm trying to do every single game. Go out there, represent this color and represent this team the best way possible. And in the end of the day, if you guys got to understand, the passion I have for this club, and everything I give every single day, I'm gonna gain your trust. That's what I'm trying to do every single day, and that's what I do every training for my teammates and for this team.
Well, it comes across authentically. So I am among the people who had my head turned. So great job there. Charm Offensive has been successful.
Thank you so much.
So results aside today, we're all happy for the point. Maybe all of you deep inside knew at halftime, we're definitely coming back and taking the point. Twitter and certain fans did not feel that way. I can say that for sure. I was folding clothes during some part of the second half. Much of today, sort of, at least in the first half, and the flow of passing and the buildup of attack from the back, especially, was seemingly disjointed. What do you attribute that to? Is it rust? Is it the competition? Is it the heat? I'm sure it's all those things. But like, what first and foremost do you really attribute that struggle to get started and play the way you want to play?
Okay, so I think especially coming back in a situation like that after many months without playing on the field, being on the field, and in this situation where the game was canceled, postponed for 2 times, and yesterday we been to the field, getting change a lot of dynamics, and you guys might think that it's easy, but I can really say that that's not, and yeah, I think the conditions, playing in a different time, everything, but I don't like to give excuses. We weren't good enough the first half, and we talked. The coaching staff gave their points, and second half we came back and we were playing with 10 men, but was never a doubt that our team gonna go goal by goal, and we were able to push the game and get the 1 point that I think is really important for us.
What's sort of been the, I guess, the message from Ben, sort of trying to play this sort of deliberate passing style is a little different than I think a lot of that the team has played sort of in the past. As Ben sort of said, we're going to kind of use this tournament as sort of a building block, or, obviously you're not going to say, oh no, we don't care if we win. We want to win. But I mean, is it sort of been like, yeah, we're going to try our best to win, but really we want to sort of leave this tournament with a better understanding of who we are, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
No, I think, first of all, we've been working on this formation the way we want to play since January, since the preseason. Since day one in January, they were very clear the way we wanted to play. The players we brought is defined the way we want to play. And it's still a build-up, because you're still constructing a new style of play. You're still building something new with new players, and we weren't able to do that for 3 months, and now we come back and we try to do that. But Ben was clear even about this tournament. We're not coming here to for a vacation. We're not coming here to just play the tournament. We're coming here to win. And he's all about win. He's a winner. He's a competitor, and this is a perfect setup to do what he wants to do. And I think the team embrace that. The team know that, and like the fight we showed in the second half today, it's a clear vision that what we want to do in this tournament.
We asked this to Bill, and we'll ask it to you too. I think that we told him that because the fact that there's no fans, you can hear everything that's said on the field, and it's great. They had to dump the audio a bunch because I'm assuming lots of swears happened that did not ESPN did not want to have on network TV or cable TV. But at the end of the game, there was a lot of emotion that happened, and I think that we asked Bill because he was at the middle of it. But you're an emotional guy too, and the way that you play before, I think you thrive on that. You're riding that emotion throughout the game. I think it's obvious to anyone that's watching. How good did it feel to get a point after that? You always want a point, you always want to win, but like, I think it got chippy. I think there was the game that got rescheduled twice. There was the stuff, they didn't come to the game. They didn't show up on time. So there was lots of stuff that happened. I'm trying to fish for animosity. It had to feel good to beat this particular team based on the playoffs last year, and then also just the way this game transpired.
I just think that shows how much us as a player care about this team. How much we always gonna fight for, first of all, the respect to win, and to all of that. I just that shows how much we care and how much means for us every time we wear these colors, this jersey. And I think that's a normal situation for me, because when you care about something, you fight for something, and you always gonna try to if people don't respect you, to make them respect you. And I think we did on the field, and things got a little bit out of control of the game, but I think that's normal. It's both teams that is very passionate. It's just things that happen in the field.
You gave a great quote earlier this week too that I wanted to bring up again. I think it was on Julian Gressel's video podcast, one of our competition, mm-hmm. one of our Steam competition, who also happens to play on the team and who we love a lot, about the food in the bubble, and about how some of the other players have complained either through an anonymous Twitter account or whatever else, just sort of that, like, maybe it wasn't up to snuff or what their standards were. And then you talked about that your childhood was a little bit different, and sometimes it wasn't enough to eat, and it's a different mindset. Do you think that maybe in a country like the United States, with the background that a lot of the American players come from, where it's a lot of money to play and travel, and people who usually make it this far don't come from that same background that you came from, do you think that perspective is lacking across the league or just in this country?
Yeah, I think especially for football, for soccer to grow in this country, what misses, you teaching the young guys how to have a mentality, the right mentality to deal with adversity, because many guys grow up with a lot of fields around them, a lot of opportunities, a lot of the time you have your father, your mother around you, I can speak for myself that at 10 years old, I left my house. I was 22 hours bus from my house. And, like sometimes I wanted a chocolate, but I couldn't get a chocolate. Sometimes I wanted a hug from my mom and my father after I lose a game or I don't play. I didn't have them. So you just got to deal with those things and those adversities. And that built something that made who I am right now, that mentality. And you kind of build your own version inside you in order for you to compete against yourself every single day. And that made me the way I am. And that's the way I always gonna be, and I'm gonna teach my children's, because sometimes have everything it's good, but sometimes bring the the wrong perspective inside you. Imagine if the players come, like as I said to friends around the team as well, I said, imagine like a lot of guys in this league that if they don't have a job tomorrow, they just say, okay, I'm gonna work on Wall Street. I'm gonna go to do this, and I'm gonna go get a job. For me, it was never a second option. Or I become a professional soccer player, or I don't know what I'm gonna do. So everyone in this country, I believe, has a second opportunity. Yes, I think just every player needs to some adversity to build their own personality. And I think sometimes adversity is good because make you remind yourself that like how much you gotta work for certain things. And most of the guys in this country has a second option if soccer or football doesn't go well. And that's sometimes that fire, that's willing to win no matter what, it's what miss sometimes in a lot of teams and a lot of players around this league, what I see.
Yeah, that is definitely true. If you happen to look at LinkedIn pages of a lot of former players at MLS, a lot of them, like you say, are like working for Morgan Stanley. There's a lot of players that triple their salary after they decide it's not going to work out. And in some ways, that's great, right? But in other ways, it definitely does go to mentality. It definitely does go to how much you're willing to risk and how hard you're willing to grind, because you know that this is it.
You always have a second option.
Right. Right. That's a great point. We told this to Bill, and I want to make sure we share it with you as well so you can hear it. And that the one thing we got, aside from telling everyone telling us how much they love you now compared to how much they didn't, they all wanted to say they wanted you guys to know that fans are aware of how big of a sacrifice this is for the players and how you're taking a risk. And it's, you're there to win. You're there for us. And the fans really know and appreciate all that you guys are doing. So we just want to make sure that I know that the thank you cards are up in the hallway, but I want to make sure that our listeners got a chance to tell you that as well.
Yeah, I want to thank you all the fans for the message they send, and for all of you guys for always supporting us. And those kind of podcasts helps a lot us. It's one of way for us to come to bring back to you guys, to give back some of the love you guys always give to us. We always appreciate you, and I'm very happy and honored to be here with you guys. And I want to get the opportunity to thank all the fans as well for the support for all these years. And it's not always so easy, but we just got to promise that we always going to give everything, and hope we can bring a trophy for the DC United, because you guys deserve most of after a long time of not winning.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Reclaim our reign. I think that's the hashtag has been going on. So I like it. Felipe, thank you so much for joining us. Get a good night's sleep, rest up, and we'll look forward to watching you on Friday.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Felipe.
Bye.
Take care.
Back in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast. We have not one, not two, not three interviews, and we saved the best for last. Gretchen Hamm is joining us from the Washington Spirit. Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. What a game the Spirit played yesterday. Now, all due respect to DC's comeback, I think the strongest team out of the DC market was the Washington Spirit yesterday. I thought an incredibly dominating, especially in the first half, incredibly dominating performance, particularly with the fact being without Rose Lavelle. So I'm sure that was fun just as much fun, probably even more fun to watch for you than it was for the rest of us at home.
Definitely fun. I think, Bailey Feist came into camp just unbelievably fired up and ready to play. And I've been waiting for her to score some goals because I knew she had them in her. And Dorian Bailey, I think, did a terrific job in there in the midfield as well. And up top, I think Ashley and Kumi are definitely developing some chemistry. And Ashley Hatch having more options this year is terrific. And then obviously you just can't say enough about our back line. And man, Tegan McGrady, I am just standing on Tegan healthy. I'm super, super pumped about all of our back line. They're amazing.
She's got like a magnet for somehow getting knocked around in some way. That's a good thing, right? She's getting stuck in and then she's really going for it. But I would like her to have one game where she doesn't have, either a bone relocated or a big bruise where it doesn't need to be. And I would say Bailey Feist has probably been my low-key MVP for the Spirit. Every game that she's played, she has made a difference. And I don't think, maybe the most of the diehard Spirit fans were looking for her to have a breakout. But I think attention was elsewhere, and she's really come through. So I'm happy to see it for sure. And of course, we've got Twitter accounts for certain defenders' biceps taking Twitter by storm. NWSL has made it when you have this proliferation of novelty Twitter accounts. You love to see it. It's good stuff.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
I wanted to talk to you. We could definitely talk about the game. We're gonna talk a little bit about the game after the interview too. But based on sort of what you do at the Spirit, I want to talk more broadly about how the Spirit and how the NWSL teams have managed to put on a thus far, knock on wood, flawless presentation of a tournament out there in Utah. Yep, I'll keep on knocking. But it's been great. The soccer has been fantastic. There have been some lulls, and I will put that down to it just happens. Whereas I would say in the MLS tournament, there's been maybe one or two games, and then the rest of them have been lulls. It's probably inverse for the NWSL tournament. But specifically, what I wanted to talk to you about is the commercial growth for the league and the teams in this format, and how I know that I saw an article. I don't know if it was in the Equalizer or it was in the Athletic, talking about how the teams have been forced to get a season's worth of deliverables out to their sponsors within this amount of game. And I thought, who better to talk to about that than you? So talk about how the Spirit have had to go about that and the success you guys have seen.
Yeah, it has been a whirlwind to say the least. As you guys know, our owner, Steve Baldwin, is amazing and thinking different, thinking bigger to begin with, pre-COVID. And he's involved a lot at the league level with some of those deals. So we were on track to meet, we thought we would actually exceed our corporate sponsorship goals, and COVID happened. And we were really blessed, I think, that we have partners who really believe in the NWSL and with the Washington Spirit, and it's not just an ROI or, a straight business deal. We had a couple partners, our bank in particular, who had actually signed on late last year, and they wanted to be sensitive to, obviously, the COVID situation and to their customers and everything. But all of our partners have been incredible about pivoting with us. I think the Craig Hoffman and Bernie and the marketing team did an incredible job of pivoting to maximizing another partner in Twitch, right? Twitch is a league partner, and putting on some of our original content. I don't know how it took us this long to think of a Richie Burke show, because Richie is absolutely hilarious, and anyone will go on and talk with him. And I think that's also been great for the fans to see the interaction between the players and Richie. And then, frankly, Richie's like the best spokesperson for some of our sponsors, because a lot of our sponsors are providing incredible services to our players. Super FD is a high performance, I think DC United uses them as well, high performance catering. And they've been incredible. They pivoted their entire, we were supposed to be traveling and in a way, and they were amazing. The crab cakes, everyone talks about the crab cakes from Super FD. So that worked out really well for them, where in fact, I think that was a more authentic presentation of their product to our fans. Pepco, for instance, Pepco was going to present 2 games, a pre-Olympic and a post-Olympic game. And they actually pivoted an entire energy campaign, reduce energy. And so we have quite a few players that are, very environmentally conscious. So Kaya and Jordan and Tegan in particular, we're doing PSAs for them, on their iPhones at home. And actually where they live, they're all Pepco customers. So again, being able to be authentic in what we're talking about. We have obviously big sponsors that came on in the middle of all this with CVS and Progressive, unbelievable companies, just, believe in us. And I mean, I think the CVS jersey, I think the Progressive and CVS look amazing on our jerseys.
They do. They don't always. There are some, like if you look at the Chelsea jersey with the big fuzzy 3 on the front of it, you can sometimes get a bad front of sponsor jersey, but CVS looks great on them.
Yeah. And I think they're, and again, I think they fit, right? Health and wellness. We're going to be doing some things with them off field, post tournament, with the team and players related to health and wellness. Again, young people, young women in particular, tend to listen to our players. So I think, that's an example of a win-win. Even, WAGs, Women and Girls in Soccer, as you guys know, have been with us. They were a founding partner. They underwrote Florida. They underwrote our preseason, and, they were super disappointed. And I was talking with Lula recently, and I said, listen, I think, women need to connect. I think the fact that they were down there together, even though they weren't on the field, I mean, I think that our team came out the first game and they were connected. And I think a lot of that has to do with, we sign our draft connections, our draft ease, right? We don't mess around with that. We're committed to who we draft. So our team has been together. And so, incredible, appreciation to WAGs and all they do. So I think, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, have you heard? So I think that there's something that's been, if there's one B plot that all of the national media has glommed onto with this tournament, it's been the players' sort of ability to be outspoken and loud about their feelings about social causes, particularly Black Lives Matter right now. Has it been? Have you heard from any? I assume the sponsors knew what they were getting into. I think right now this is the moment. And these players, I think, particularly within this league, I think that you can expect that these players are going to be, loud about this. This is something that matters to them. Have the sponsors been broadly supportive of players using their platform to talk about this?
100%. 100%.
I would have assumed. I think that this is. I think if the players and the league, that this was going to be the way it was. And I'm glad that that's sort of been the way it's gone. There have been, I think, we've talked about it on the podcast. There was initially a lot of discussion about who's standing and who's kneeling, and I think that's dissipated a little bit. I think the players union came out with a statement. The team came out with a statement. I think now, I was like, let's just get to the soccer here, because this is some really great games to watch, and particularly the Spirit have, I would say, confounded some people's expectations. They were a glamour pick by a lot of the real pros, looking at the roster, saying that this was they were going to really have a chance, and they've definitely done that. But it's if I'm you, I'm mixed between being so happy about how the team's performed and how I'm sure that your social numbers are way up. I'm sure your engagement numbers way up, but then also being like, why did this have to happen this season when we had it was teed up? You had the 3 stadium, the goodbye to Boyd's, you had the Olympics coming up. This was just a revenue bonanza, I would assume. So I feel for you, because that is everything. Every time I see something positive coming out for the Spirit, I'm like, if this team could have had a full season to gel, North Carolina should be very concerned in the long term, and they're still managing to do it in a short term. But overall, from a business perspective, it's got to be a real tale of two halves there. Yes.
And the other thing I would like to totally, and I was definitely feeling that in March and April. And then I'm an eternal optimist. So I was trying to just shift gears and, we have an Olympic year next year. While we'll be 7 at Audi, 5 at Segra. So that actually is really good revenue. 7 games at Audi is something that will be amazing. The other thing I just wanted to talk about is our season ticket holders numbers were through the roof. I'm sure you guys had heard about that. And a very, very small number of people asked for refunds, like a third of what our director, Lauren, had projected. Everyone said, just keep it till next year. And so I do want to give a shout out to, I think that's an incredible testament to the loyalty of our fans, as well as the amazing job that Lauren was new last year, and her team, the engagement they've done with our season ticket holders. The positive of the Olympics getting moved, at least, is that I think, Richie and Larry and Steve will tell you this was a 36-month project, right? And so this team was really built to compete next year, right, in 2021. So being optimistic about that, I think that, with the Olympics, with that extra time, and with the 7 and 5, I think we'll be able to, I don't know if we can make up this entire year, but I definitely think we have every reason to be optimistic. I think the CBS numbers have been incredible. And I think that is some real proof in the pudding for other sponsors, right? And for broadcast. So, that broadcast deal basically got moved to next year. And the Twitch has been, they've been an unbelievable partner for us. I think their platform has been incredible, and I would love to see other leagues and teams take advantage of it, because Absolutely. I think it's so fun to be able to interact with the chat functions while you're watching stuff. And again, just really connecting with our fans.
As I shout out to our Twitch chat, as we are very meta. And can we figure out how to tell CBS All Access to not ask us if we're still watching? Other than that, everything's great. I feel like that's the one thing we gotta fix. Other than that,
I know that popped on me the other game, and I was like, seriously?
I am, obviously. Netflix would just keep it rolling. CBS has got to learn.
Gretchen.
Yeah, but Bill.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Billy Stone and his team have been tremendous, and I've been really pleased with the announcers in general. I think they've done a great job. Even the fake crowd noise hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, it can be done well and done poorly. I think it's done fine. There's not a couple opportunities. I think it was, I don't know if it was a DC United game or something where there was a delayed. No, it was in the first Spirit game. So there was a bad thing. Now I'm remembering. Now there was a missed opportunity, and they hit the button like a little bit too late, and there was like a big 4 or 5 second gap.
Yeah,
it's like a buffering thing. Other than that, though, you're right. It's been unobtrusive.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah. Gretchen, real quick, I know you talked about next year, because that's pretty much what we're looking at. This year was supposed to be 4 and 4 and 4. It was supposed to be 4 games at the Soccerplex, 4 games in Loudon, and of course 4 games at Audi Field. I went to a Spirit game up in the Maryland Soccerplex. It's a little bit of a trek for me from Virginia, from Southern Virginia. But I do know that's a place that holds a special place in I think a lot of Spirit fans' hearts, and I do think it's kind of I guess sad that maybe there won't be a send off for that. Have there been any sort of talks about maybe trying to figure out a way, maybe if it's a friendly or something like that to sort of send off the Soccerplex as the sort of the first home of the Washington Spirit?
Yeah, we have actually, Steve would like to continue to have at least one preseason game there, every year going forward. I was actually just talking with Lauren about, again, if we can socially distance and within all the proper regulations, do some sort of fan fest there this fall, because there's obviously space up at the Maryland Soccerplex. So absolutely, I think it would be, I don't think Tori Huster would let us not do something. So I think we'll figure something out.
Cool. That's good. That's good to hear.
She wants to sleep over on the field on the last game. That's her wish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to get more opportunities at Audi Field. I mean, if I had a crystal ball and I could tell what people's comfort level was going to be with live sports in the near term, I think that's going to be the big unknown for everybody that we're all going to have to deal with. treatments, vaccines, whenever they happen, whenever this thing goes away, it'll certainly be all full steam ahead. But it is going to be, I think still some choppy waters for a little bit, I think, in the next 12 to 18 months or whatever. But I think that, the team on the field is certainly trending in the right direction. Ted and I are relatively newcomers to the team, to watching the team, and it's been awesome to see them grow, even in a short term, even from just last year. And it's been, I think, to any of our viewers or listeners who don't yet watch the Spirit and are just tuning in for DC United stuff, please give it a shot. I think that's the main thing for people who are not watching the Spirit is try it once. The games, the skill is off. Rose Lavelle is, you can be a casual viewer of soccer, a medium consumer, watch her play one half of one game and you're hooked. So that's really I'm sure that's your biggest hurdle to overcome is just eyeballs the first time, and then you get a captured fan.
Yeah, I think just checking it out. And, we're trying to really broaden our outreach beyond, the 12-year-old girl, right? There's a lot of adults without kids who played or play or just love it. I'm a former player, right? I just got re-engaged, working for the Spirit. My parents are, former soccer parents. They're now season ticket holders. So I think Budweiser, was helpful in broadening that appeal. I would love to see the league get a hard liquor sponsor. I love that the hardcore fans are willing to look at these women as women and people and not just perfect role models, because there's so much more than just, someone your 12-year-old daughter can look up to. My 10-year-old son is obsessed with the NWSL. We were watching the other day, and the league, the table came up, and Braden turns to me and he goes, "Mommy, Julie Ertz is not going to be happy that Chicago is at the bottom of the table." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're totally right." And I love that all that. And so I think that has been helpful. And I think, in an interview last year, Steve Baldwin said, we have the Rolls Royce of women's soccer, and we were marketing it like a used car lot. And I think as we've expected more and asked for more, we've received it. And, I think I'm a big karma energy person. And so I think that's, we're taking ourselves seriously. The league is taking itself seriously. Lisa Baird, unbelievable. Lindsay Barron's, they've done an incredible job pulling these deals together in the amount of time, and completely switching activation. It's there's so much behind the scenes stuff that they've made look very, very flawless.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too if you look at parallels between NWSL and MLS. So MLS has been trying to cast itself as a league of choice when they have been very obviously in the market, understand that they are very much in a talent mid-tier, and they're trying to cast themselves as a top and trying to get there. And the long-term goal with Don Garber was, league of choice by I don't remember what it was now. In the past, I think 2018, maybe, I don't know. We'll give them a couple years, plus or minus 5, whatever. And they had to sell themselves that way. Whereas NWSL is the league that you want to be in, but you're right. They were like, how can we get, sell all of our season tickets to youth teams, young kids. And the MLS had to also move. They were moving. They're very kids and family. And then they realized that the passion of the not intoxicated, but well lubricated adult crowd is both great for television, and it's also great for recurring revenue. It's great for in-stadium revenue. I think that's the fact that NWSL has the goods on the field and is now starting to realize the power of the rest of the market segments. I think is going to only do good things for the league in this country. So I'm excited as an invested viewer. It's good to see.
Yeah, I think two of the smartest things we did last year was bring in Denizens and the senior tequilas, margaritas on the rocks. I can't tell you how many fans would stop me at games and say, "I have been a season ticket holder for 6 years. Thank you so much. These margaritas are amazing." Or the beer lines have now cut down. And I think, Audi Field, and I love when the Plex when we had those sellouts, the Plex was rocking. But we rocked a 19,000 sellout at Audi. And I think that also gives fans more areas, right? You can have section 136 and 137 and be your adult supporters and drums and stand the whole time. And then there's really great places for families. And so I think that's going to be incredible as we grow. And we're so excited, and it's going to be an exciting couple weeks here. And then as we roll in to see, there's a Board of Governors call on the 21st. So we'll see what the fall might look like. And
fingers crossed there. Fingers crossed. I think that I know that Allie Krieger was on a podcast a couple weeks ago, was like, let's just bring it back to the home markets in August. And that USL's trying it with fans, which we're not on this podcast, not super excited about people doing, but they're trying it at home markets. MLS wants to try it. So I'm hoping I'm not betting on more NWSL soccer. I think that they've sort of made that clear that without fans, it's a proposition that, the dog may not hunt. But the sooner we can see more games, the better. This tournament's really, I think lit a fire for a lot of fans of both the Spirit and the rest of the league. So.
And I think, it might be thinking creatively. It might not be league games, but it might be some friendlies. It might be, New Jersey wants to do a home and home. North Carolina wants to do a home and home. I think even if we can stream it or have, 10% capacity or something, again, whatever that 10 or 20% capacity at Audi Field is, you could spread out and be very, very, very safe. So, keep praying if you pray, and everybody wear your masks,
yes,
and stay home if you don't need to be out, and let's just, all do our part for what we could contribute.
John Doolittle on the National said that sports is the gift of a well-functioning society. I think something like that was basically saying, that's the treat we get for being a society that can take care of this and do what it needs to do. So let's hope we do that.
Oh my gosh, I hope so, guys.
Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us. This is your floor. Plug what you want to plug. If you want to, I know you have a Twitter account. If you want to post that and let people know where they can follow you, or if you have something else you want to plug, feel free to
Washington Spirit.
Yes.
Follow us. The social marketing team does an incredible job. At Wash Spirit on Twitter, at Washington Spirit on Instagram. Our Twitch is Washington Spirit. Give us a try. I love that. Just watch a half and enjoy. We're the youngest team in the league. We have just some incredible talent, and they're really good humans. They're really, really good people that you can feel comfortable following and becoming invested in, because they're not going to let you down. They're not going to do anything that would ever cause anyone, consternation.
And Paige Nielsen can beat you up. No matter.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're into that, then there's that.
Yeah, and if you want to join, I'm repping the Squadron, so you can also Spirit Squadron on Twitter. That's our supporter group, and they're incredible and welcoming, and we're just join us.
Yep.
Give us a try.
Tune into these quarterfinals. Let's
Yeah.
get another win. Let's keep it going.
Yep. Let's hope we second seed, and then we can meet North Carolina in the final and show what we're really about. I think is what we really want.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Gretchen. Best of luck to the Spirit as they continue on in this tournament and into the future. Thanks so much.
Guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
This is a chock-filled show, folks.
Yeah, man. You guys got a real treat. We're gonna sleep. This has been a lot of work for us to put together. Producer Brian in the background did an incredible job. Editing those videos together on the fly. He's got family in town. Somehow he managed to get
high
all that
degree
done.
of difficulty.
High degree. More skill than we have. We're gonna open up phone lines. I think we'll talk a little bit. 202-905-0454. We can talk a little bit about the Spirit game, because I don't think we gave that it's just due. I thought that was the most complete performance of the team. I thought they were absolutely just unbelievable in that first half, and particularly I think we saw the lineups coming in. I'm like, oh, Lavelle's not there, DiBiase's not there, and I'm like, hey, they need Sanchez and it's time for Sanchez and Kumi to step up, but I thought both those players really stepped up. They probably should have had 2 or 3 goals in that first half, with a couple of opportunities.
Yes, they should have.
Yeah.
Somewhat frustratingly so. I think that, there was a lot of conversation that happened before this tournament that Ashley Hatch was going to have to start converting goals, particularly with the chances that she's going to be receiving going up. She hasn't really yet. I think she's still sitting on one goal from the first game, I think.
Yeah. She has an assist. She had the assist on the.
True. Yeah, I don't want to say she's not done. She's played well, but I think for this team to really make that next leap forward, they need a forward that's really converting, 25 to 30% of their chances, or at least giving shots away.
In sort of sprint tournaments like this, what you want to see is your team sort of grow throughout the tournament. Look at Houston. Everybody was talking about how hot Houston were. Oh man, they're the team that's going to be that second team that's going to potentially upset North Carolina, and then they lost to I think it was either, I can't remember if it was New Jersey or the Reign. I'll have to go back and look, but it was one of those two. Sorry, what?
They lost to the Sky Blue.
They lost to Sky Blue 2-0, and then they lose to the Spirit. So they lost 2 in a row. They have slid all the way from like second to fifth in the table. So that to me just shows you kind of, I thought the Spirit have been of all the teams, they played the most consistent. It wasn't hot cold, it wasn't cold like the Reign and then suddenly getting hot. Now the Reign suddenly, I guess, figured out how to play because they're now sitting third. They managed to make a comeback. I mean, with this type of tournament, it was just always going to be, I think, this crazy. In particular, we all knew the Courage were the Courage, and they have they are not holding back. If you took a look at their lineup, Crystal Dunn is out there. I saw that. A lot of the people who follow women's soccer a little more closely are saying that basically they've got the full complement of players out there, so they are going for it, folks.
They want 12 points, and they want a huge goal differential.
Which, by all means, Carolina, go for it. Yeah. Just go for it. Well, I want us to finish second, and I'm not sure how. I think I looked. I think the New Jersey can still potentially finish second. So,
one thing we didn't really cover is the fact that Andy Sullivan has torn her meniscus and will miss the rest of the Challenge Cup. We mentioned it in passing in the interview with Gretchen, but no, we actually didn't. That was before she came on.
Yes.
So Andy Sullivan tore her meniscus and will be out the rest of the tournament, 3 to 6 months. It said. So she had heard a pop when she was playing. Apparently, Richie said that she's been dealing with something like that. The meniscus can sort of flap around for a little bit until it tears. And it sounds like it was flapping before and it tore in this most recent game. She had given the thumbs up to Vlatko on the way out of the stadium, which everyone took to mean like, oh, she's fine, but it just meant no ACL. I guess we can now know in the end that that's what it was. So this is big, right, guys? If this is a position that has not been a position of super depth. Andy Sullivan she had a great season last year. She got left home from the World Cup and had a dominant season. And this year she's played well. Again, the problem with the defensive midfielder usually is if they're playing well, you don't talk about them. They just do their thing and they do it quietly. So now there's going to have to be a big step up here. Jay Bossier and Maggie Daughtry-Howard are going to have to step up. They played a little bit in the last game. Bossier, I believe, got yelled at pretty soundly by Richie. I think that was talked about after the fact. He was not happy with the way she was playing. I think she was playing left back. It's a tough thing to be a depth player in a short tournament and come in and do well. But guess what? Now you have to. Yeah. Now you're in the knockout, and you need to. There can be no bad games. So
and this is an opportunity and a shot. These tournaments can make players, so to speak. We see players we've seen players all over. I think this in the MLS's back and in this other tournament really step up. We saw with Ashley Sanchez and how quickly she has grown. And she looked very, very solid again in this game. I thought she continues to just show improvement. I don't think she really showed on the score sheet, but really, I guess I'm like, I know that losing Andy Sullivan's huge. I thought Daughtry-Howard came in and was solid. Not to the level of Andy Sullivan, but I thought she was solid in that game. And kept Houston off the score sheet when they started to sort of creep back into that game and potentially tie it up, which would have dented a lot of the good feelings I think we're feeling right now about this team. So yeah,
Bailey Feist has really stepped up too. And when Jordan DiBiase is unable to play, There's been, from my mind, no real change from the way the offense is clicking in the midfield.
Yeah.
So that's been great. I'm glad she got her goal. But the overall, there has just been this team has just shown strength all over the place. Paige Nielsen and Sam Staub in the back. I don't know another center back pairing, having seen a lot of games in the last couple weeks, that I would want more than them. And they're both second year players. You love to see that. It's just it's a weird situation where all you want are more games for this team. All you want is a chance for this team to really become what it's going to become. But we're not going to get that, so we have to make do here and see what this team can do in a really short window. And when is their next game? Do we know who we don't know who they're playing yet, but we know when the game is?
We do not know. I don't think. I know it's sometime on Saturday. Saturday.
Someone is up in the chat. July 17th or 18th is the game. Is the next game.
Well, if it's July 17th, we might have a chance. I am going on vacation on Saturday. So we're still trying to. We're still trying to see
how that goes. But I mean, this has been it's great. It's been like a speed course for an NWSL newbie.
Yeah. And
the games we talked about it in the interview. The games have been, by and large, good games. There have been a few clunkers. But overall, like really, really impressive level of play, and the Spirit have been top 1, 2, 3 among those.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's gonna be a fun I think conclusion to the tournament. I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see the conclusion. And if you haven't just checked it out, if you just haven't gotten there yet, do yourself a favor, go check it out. It's been a lot of fun soccer. The quality of the broadcast has been good, and I think
we're getting info in the chat right now. We're not sure yet what day the game is. Washington Spirit giving us on the up to the minute information in the YouTube chat. We appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, I think that will do it. Everybody, I don't think we have anything else to talk about. Anything else you wanna touch on, John?
No, I mean, if you are a new listener, if you've hung around all the way to the end, this is a marathon. They're not usually this long. But we also don't usually have 3 interviews in one podcast. We basically took what we would normally stretch out into 3 episodes and did it in 1 episode. So if you're new to us and you liked it, and you don't think that even if we don't have 3 interviews an episode, you'd still want to listen, we are on every podcast format you could think of. We're right here on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Periscope. But if you want to listen to us asynchronously or not look at our faces, just download RFK Refugees on whatever thing you listen to podcasts on. We're, we started off as just DC United, and we've branched out, I think, a lot.
Yes.
And Loudoun United's going to start back up, so we'll have something else to talk about here. I'm still in a forever battle with Ted to never talk about the national teams, but sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. But thank you so much to Bill Hamid and Felipe Martins and Gretchen Hamm for joining us. I think we covered a whole bunch of ground, and I think it was a good time.
And if you really, really like the show, rfrefugees.com, our Patreon page. The Patreons have helped cover all of this technology that you're seeing in front of us, with the exception of my camera, which I'm working on.
And this raccoon over my shoulder, that was also a Patreon.
Yes, the raccoon and but the video, the software that we have, all of that came from Patreon subscribers. So check us out, donate to the show if you want to. If you want to see this, this little crazy venture John and I started up a couple years ago grow. So thank you all so much for listening to the show. You guys are all legends, and we will catch you guys. I don't know. Do we have another show? I guess we still have some of the DC shows coming up. We got the pre and post games for that.
Yes, so. we may or may not be part of an official DC United pregame. So stay tuned to our social media. We're going to get some confirmation on that. If not, you'll see us when you see us, man. We're all over the place.
Yep.
Just be watching Twitter. We'll just show up. You'll see our faces. It's how it happens.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Thank you all so much. We will catch you all down the road. Vamos.
Vamos.